when we're doing arithmetic and then extend that on into our algebra concepts, depending on, I'm going to use it x for times sign. Depending on whether we add or subtract or multiply or divide first, we could all come up with a different handful of answers for this computation. And so there is a conventional order that we need to go in, and that is considered the correct order to do your arithmetic. So the first set of steps that we're going to do involves any parentheses. And by parentheses, that includes any grouping symbol. Okay, now there's no parentheses in this example, and so then we would move on, and if there were any exponents, we would do the exponent operation next. Again, I started with one that doesn't have much to it, so then we keep going. When we continue, multiplication and division are done as a pair. And as we are multiplying and dividing, we do that from left to right. That means left to right in the problem as we get to the operation. So meaning as we're working through, we hit a times sign right here. And so that's actually going to be the first thing that we do in this exercise. Okay. As we keep moving through the problem, we also see 3 times 4, and so we'll do that multiplication as well. Now what we don't do is go through and do all the multiplication problem parts of the problem and then all the division. If we hit a divided by sign before we hit a times sign, then we work through it again as we get to those operations from left to right. Last, we complete the examples doing addition and subtraction, again working from left to right in the problem. So here we see 2 plus 15 is 17. Write it in black. And 17 minus 12 is 5. All right. So from the problem that we were given, there on the top line, the answer to that, when we compute it, is 5. And 5 is the only correct answer for that example. Okay. So maybe we have something like 3 minus 1 squared divided by 2 times 5 plus 1 minus 3. Now on this example, we do have parentheses. We have grouping symbols here. So we're going to do the arithmetic inside those parentheses first and call that 2. Okay. After we do all of the grouping symbols, then we go back and do any exponents that are there. And so 2 squared means 2 times 2, and 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Okay. Now again, remember when we said we do multiplication, we work through those operations from left to right. So that means I'm going to do the division of 4 divided by 2 first before I multiply anything times 5. Okay, if I go out of order there, I'm not going to get the right answer. And so we'll say 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10. And then lastly, we will add and subtract from left to right and find out that the answer to this order of operations problem is 8. Now when we're working through examples, maybe I can get that where we can see the whole thing. Okay, when we're working through the examples, make sure that you don't cheat and go out of order here. There are situations where you can go out of order and still get the correct answer, but that's not guaranteed to work every time. Okay, so what you need to do is make sure that whether you write it at the top of your page and go through it like a checklist, whatever you need to do, make sure you always go in that order. So here's another example. I really enjoy this example a lot. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video here in a moment and work through that example and see what you get for the answer. Turn the video back on when you're ready to see the solution. All right, so we know that our order of operations is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, okay, or PEMDAS, whatever you're used to calling it. But we're going to start with the parentheses first. Okay, in the parentheses, then the first thing we do, we have to do the order of operations there as well, meaning I need to multiply that 4 times 2 before I do the addition or subtraction. So in the parentheses, it's going to take me a couple of steps. I get -8 for that product, and -4 minus 8 is -12. So now we've done all of the grouping symbols. Next, I need to go back and take care of the exponents. So I have an exponent right here, and I have an exponent right there. If I take -12 times itself, I get a positive 144. And if I take -2 times itself 3 times, I get -8. Okay. Now, many students are okay up to this step, but this is where they go down the wrong path. Remember, when we're doing multiplication and division, we go in what order? From left to right, which means even though a lot of your will look at this 2 times -8 and say, well, I'm just going to call that 16 and go on. The correct path to take is to do that division step first. Okay, and notice you will not get the same answer if you take 144 divided by 16 as you would when you take 72 times -8. So even though we know this order of operations, even though if I asked all of you, you would write it down and you would write it down in the correct order, many of you will still go out of order in one or more steps. Okay, so don't let your eyes take you in the wrong direction. Make sure that you're faithful to the order every time. And the correct answer, and the only correct answer for this arithmetic problem, is -576. Please contact me if you have questions about the order of operations. The best way to get good at these is just to practice more and more. So go to your book, work through examples and odd problems, and give me a shout if I can help you with something.